Now and then, Saphira flapped her wings toward the mountain as Eragon enjoyed the sight of the river and the woods down below. Little one, she started apprehensively. Yes, Saphira. This morning, he knew what she was trying to say. It was about the nightmare he had earlier that morning. He could feel her guilt for unintentionally blocking him while she was asleep. Because he couldn't reach her, desperation took over his core until Arya's hands came to save him. But he could never blame her. It was not her duty to tame his stray thoughts after all. Don't worry, Saphira. I'm all right. I should be watchful of you. She lamented. You should not. I'm the one to blame for not solving my problems. It's been 20 years, and I'm still caught up in this maze of bad memories and nightmares. But you haven't solved it yet. I should be there for you. I'm sorry. Eragon stretched his arm to touch her neck. He knew she must have been feeling terrible, since such a display of contrition was not common coming from her. He wished to ease her concern. I'll accept it just so you feel better. Do you feel better? No. But I appreciate it. She took a turn left, and the mountain was in full view, but she didn't approach it yet. They both wanted to enjoy their time together. Eragon felt the change in her mood. It was playful all of a sudden. So, last night. Was it how you expected? She asked. She knew what his thoughts and feelings were regarding the subject, but for some reason she wanted to hear it. Or make him feel embarrassed. Either way, it humored them both, in a way. I mean, it's Arya. She is not like anyone else. Eragon answered, thinking of the night before. Saphira was amused as he noticed through their mental connection. I will have to take your word for it. So, no, it wasn't as you expected, was it? I don't know what I expected. How could I expect anything? I mean, I don't know. It was good, all right. More than good, perfect. It's all that matters. Eragon could feel his ears burning as he was the teenager that had fallen in love with a beautiful elf a long time ago. Much had changed since then, but he felt that the excitement and the anxiety would never fade. What if it faded? Would it be a bad thing if it did? He could not know for sure. Finally, diving to the entrance of the mountain, Saphira shook her head and threw him a glance over her shoulder. It always felt to me that you expected a lot. But I'm glad you two are doing well together. You are finally good to each other. Eragon smiled, satisfied for the pieces of his life were coming together. He felt accomplished, not relaxed, of course, since he still had many insecurities toward Arya and many duties that required his constant vigilance, but somehow he felt at peace. It was all good. It was also good to have his friend around again after more than a year away. Eragon missed the companionship that he shared with Rhaenyra. They were good listeners to one another, and they both knew they could share their secrets knowing the other one would be completely loyal. Having him back in Mount Arnger was a great joy. Rhaenyra was already waiting for him in the training field. He frowned at his master to see he hadn't brought Moonlight with him. I thought we were going to spar. I have a big fight today, I know. That's why we will only revise your strategy. You need to save your energy for later. Eragon went to the weapons stand in the corner of the hall where they kept all the swords, axes, spears, and shields. He grabbed his bamboo bat and joined Rhaenyra. It was early, but a few competitors were already performing their training routines scattered around the area. The two riders studied the best moves and positions Rhaenyra could use when fighting his next opponent that was the Elven champion, undefeated for the last 5 years. Eragon didn't know his fighting style, but Rhaenyra had seen him competing in the year before, and for the report he gave, Eragon had to instruct his pupil to be as guarded as possible. The Elven champion was an old memory in Eragon's mind, as being one of the only 2 children in Elismera during his time training with Oramis and Glida more than 20 years before. Jusen was his name. Many had expected that Jusen and his sister Alanna were going to become riders someday, but it hadn't happened yet. They still touch the eggs every year. Let him make mistakes, many mistakes. He showed Rainier how to induce his opponent's errors. Then, when he's feeling frustrated, you attack. It's your chance to be yourself. Summing up, you only let out your aggressiveness when he's already tired. I'm sure your stamina can surpass his. Eragon let him practice the defensive moves for about half an hour before ending their training. As they walked together to the arena through the hallways, he thought Rainier was awfully quiet. What's wrong with you? Are you worried about the fight? Rainier shook his head and kept his eyes to the ground. I've been talking to Avelina about the threats in the north. Disagreeing more than talking. There's something I wish to ask of you, but if she finds out— Eragon looked at him and narrowed his eyes. How many secrets would he have to keep? Murtogh and Nasuada's, Rainier's, his own? Don't tell me you want me to assign her to go tend to another region so she will be safe. Rainier seemed guilty, but didn't deny or stare back at him. Eragon stopped and grabbed his arm. I will give you a chance to pretend we've never spoken of this. Rainier creased his forehead and finally looked back at Eragon. How couldn't I ask that? Avelina is in danger in the north, and I simply wish to protect her. What would you do if it were Arya instead? Eragon snorted in amusement. It is Arya, can't you see? She is responsible for guarding the whole forest and the entire nation of the elves, who by chance is in the north. She is the head of the spear on every possible conflict. You expect me to tell her to stand back and let others do her work? He saw frustration in Rainier's expression. I don't want her to get hurt, he said low. You will hurt her more if you keep this protective stance toward her. Eragon advised. Look who's talking. You put Elva to protect Arya, and now you try to teach me a lesson. That was different. Eragon shook his head. How so, may I ask? Rainier crossed his arms on his chest. Arya was under direct threats against her life. Still is. Elva is there to sense imminent danger, not to fight for her. Arya is well capable of fighting for herself, so Elva won't fight Arya's offender if the time comes. I heard she had become quite a swordsman. He raised a brow in suspicion. Eragon laughed and resumed his walk. I can assure you she won't. She is not the type that does more than it's necessary. Sacrificing herself for the well-being of others is not in her nature. Maybe that's because she believes she had already sacrificed too much. Rainier followed. Maybe. But still, don't expect much of her. Rainier took a deep breath to calm himself. Eragon would always wait for his outbursts to pass and try not to antagonize him too much. He noticed Rainier had made good progress in taming his temper, but still there was a lot he could do to keep improving. You won't assign her to anywhere else then? His voice was low and disappointed. She's good to the people in the valley. Even Sunon is grateful for her. I won't change that. I'm sorry. They walked in silence until they had left the hallways and joined the crowd in the outside toward the arena. The sunny morning was gathering many spectators to the games. They carried banners and chanted easy melodies. It was a joyful occasion. Eragon and Rainier were swallowed by the big group. When will you take the cats with you? Rainier asked above the chattering. Why should I? Rainier's lips were pursed. They've been scratching my door every night since you started to spend time in the treehouse. The last part was whispered near Eragon's ear so the passers-by wouldn't listen. It's annoying. Eragon laughed. I thought you liked cats. I do, but letting them sleep with me is a different kind of liking. There's hair all over my bed and they keep moving around. Eragon kept the smile but shrugged. They will find me if they wish to. I won't take them from their home. Rainier growled low, which made Eragon laugh again. They are too old to walk all the way to you. How old are they, by the way? 12, 15. It's abnormal for a cat to live more than that, you know. Our lives as riders aren't normal, so why the creatures around us should be? Rainier held a confused expression. What do you mean? I'm talking about the dragons, of course. You can perceive the difference between life here in Anga and Alagaresia better than I can since you've been residing there now. Doesn't the magic here change the land in a way that doesn't happen there? Rainier kept confused, but Eragon could notice he was thinking. I don't know. It seems the same, I think. Eragon smiled kindly and patted on his shoulder. One day you will see, but don't take too long because before we all know it, Alagezia will be as magical as this place since the dragons will fly all over the land again. And cats there will live as long as the ones here. I can't wait, he said with a frown. Indeed, Mount Anga would see unexpected events more surprising than long-lived house cats. Once a crowd formed in a tunnel under the mountain, hidden from all sorts of natural light, just because the most exotic flower had blossomed between the rocks on the wall. And it still lived despite their excavation around it. It was odd and beautiful. Eragon couldn't classify such occurrence as a common and natural phenomenon. It had to be driven by the magic of the dragons. Another time, two miners, a dwarf and a human, were found completely healed and well-nourished after being trapped in a cave for 2 weeks in an expedition east to find a good reserve of iron all they could use. They couldn't remember how they had stayed healthy and strong for so long without having any food with them. The Eldenari assured Eragon that they hadn't intervened, but maybe the magic from the wild dragons living on the coast a few miles away was so powerful that it reached the cave and sustained the lives of those two men. Eragon wondered why, so they stated that the life of those who work for a bigger purpose than themselves would always be cherished and guarded if possible. No more explanations were given. After that, he stopped being shocked when the unexpected happened. Not even when his people met with a group of eastern natives far down the river who were armed with spears and blades. They were confronted by the natives for a matter of territory because inadvertently they had trespassed the others' lands. The Easterners suddenly lowered their weapons for no apparent reason and pointed the Anga's residents to the nearest shelter so they could spend the night. From a confrontation to a warm welcome, no words were spoken for they wouldn't understand each other. Peace installed between them all, and it lasted. Fortuitous, but odd. It was because of such spontaneous manifestations of magic that he would refrain from using his magical powers when it wasn't necessary. He felt like wasting a precious resource when he got rid of his facial hair or lit a fire with a word or two. It was silly, he knew it, for magic was infinite when energy was available. Still, he felt better that way. It was a shame that Rainier still didn't have the sensibility to perceive those details regarding magic. Eragon feared that maybe Rainier had spent too little time around his people, who were magical by nature. That's silly. Some others perceive it, and they had never been in contact with magic before. Avelina, for instance. Saphira said as she passed flying by him to take her place in the arena. Still, it worries me. He was capable of diving deep in the study of the true names, a powerful magic, but the subtleties of it are a mystery to him. How will he be able to take my place in the tutelage of the Eldenari if he can't see it? Patience, little one. He will see it, Eragon sighed, which caught Rainier's attention. He dismissed the other's concern and wished him good luck as they separated. Rainier went to the competitors' area and he went to the bleachers to sit with his family. Can you be patient? I mean, the faster he's ready, the sooner we can go back to Alagezia. Saphira accommodated herself between Fernan and Runela as she responded, I'm not as eager to go back as you. Fernan may be a great reason to go, but I have other good ones to stay. Eragon punished himself mentally. Of course, she wanted to stay. Her eggs were in Mount Anga. She would not separate from them. Besides, her duties were there either. And she was needed in the lair for the wild dragons would sometimes reach her for instruction since she was their elder. You are right, Saphira. I'm sorry. He saw Katrina waving at him, so he walked to her. Don't be silly. You have nothing to be sorry about. You are distracted. It's understandable. Nothing will distract me from you. Nothing or no one can distract me from you. We will stay how long you wish to, even when Rainier takes my place and Vance takes yours. He felt her laughing in his mind. I would like to see Vance taking my place. He's too much of an intellectual for such heavy work. Eragon laughed, just as he dodged the people who were trying to find good seats. His humor raised a few brows. We will have to see how it goes then. Yes, little one. Don't stress about the future. Our present feels too good for us to get ahead of ourselves. He smiled because of what she said, but also because of Katrina and Ismira were greeting him. Life is good, Saphira. Life is good, little one. After Eragon had left to meet Rainier in the mountain, Arya accommodated herself on the big flat boulder by the river to wait for Avelina. Fernan sat by her side and they enjoyed the sunlight together. Beautiful morning, don't you think? She hummed her agreement and looked at him to wait for his next comment. And how do you feel? He asked. Arya smiled. You know how I feel, Fernan. You know everything about me. True. He moved from his hind legs to a laying position. What do you feel, Fernan? She used her voice to speak. You know that too, don't you? He wasn't acting in his usual irreverent way. I know you. Why is that worrisome to you? You didn't free him from his promise first. What if you committed to something you cannot do? You will get hurt. You both will. Arya would never think that Fernan would be so conservative about her choices. He was the one who usually pushed her to be more open and take risks. What do you think he will ask of me? To stay here? To abdicate the throne and come live with him? Arya shook her head. He knows I can't stay, and he wouldn't ask me to abdicate. He said it before, when he told me of his plans for preparing Rainier to lead. Fernan blew a cloud of smoke and watched it fade away. Whatever that is then, allow him to say it. He should do it now, not later, when you will be too involved to refuse. Arya narrowed her eyes and called his attention. He looked at her, then glanced at the sky to see Runela arriving with Avelina. I'm not wrong. You like it or not. I told you to allow your feelings to emerge and show. To live a month at a time. Not to commit to something you don't even know what it is. Arya also glanced at the pair approaching the treehouse, but stared back at him. You are not wrong, but you are not acting like yourself. We will talk about this later. The dragon tipped his head to show her he understood, but didn't say anything else. Arya feared he had information she didn't know. What could Saphira had told him that could cause such concern? Fernan had always been supportive of her relationship with Eragon. She could not understand why he had second doubts all of a sudden. Avelina dismounted from Runela and smiled at Arya. She liked her friends' smiles. They were always so genuine and bright they could light up the darkest souls. The young woman pressed 2 fingers on her lips and greeted Arya accordingly to the elven tradition. They sparred together for about an hour in hopes to get Avelina ready for her fight the next day. Arya considered her style to be very elegant. It reminded her of the old elven way of the sword, taught until the current days. It made sense, being Yela her main instructor during her academy years. It was a swift and sophisticated style, but it lacked aggressiveness. Avelina was still young, and she had never taken a life or been in a war. Arya hoped she would never have to go through such hardships, but she also expected the young rider to grow stronger teeth and longer claws. She pushed and pushed, advancing with ferocity. Avelina defended herself well, being the strong human woman she was, but Arya was using only half of her strength. Then she pushed a little further to see Avelina struggling to hold her advance. Arya attacked more ferociously, just so Avelina would panic and retreat behind her shield as a powerful blow of Tamerlane cracked it from top to bottom. Avelina's eyes were wide as she looked at Arya. Her sandy hair was disheveled, escaping from her braids. You are very good, Avelina. Arya started walking to her. In the academy, we have only seen one person better than you, but he's an elf. He has the advantage of strength and speed, qualities that you will achieve with time as Runela's magic transforms you. But now, I need you to overcome your weaker constitution. I need you to be braver. Arya watched as Avelina took a deep breath and stood up straight, lowering her cracked shield. Why would you need that? Because of the games. You know that I don't care about winning, I just want to fight. Arya approached her and used a firm but amicable tone. It's not about the games. The day may come for you to take a bigger role. A leading role. Avelina's eyes widened. Leading. What's wrong with Master Eragon? Arya smiled faintly and put her hand on Avelina's shoulder to calm her. Nothing is wrong. But I fear that the outcome of his decisions may not be as positive as he expects. As we expect. If that's the case, I will need you to step up. Arya, what are you doing? Fernan raised his head to see the two riders. That's the only thing in which Rhaenyra surpasses her. Eragon doesn't see it that way, but Avelina would be a better leader, for she is already better prepared. She just needs to take the final step. Fernan didn't say anything else, but his approval was very clear in her mind. Again, Arya wondered what was it that he knew and was hiding from her. Arya, I don't understand. The queen sheathed Tamerlane and guided the young rider inside the house. Come inside. Let's drink some tea and talk it further. I will explain it to you. Eragon looked at the grandstand to see that Arya was absent. He turned his head to the dragons and didn't find Fernan, Saphira. Where are Fernan and Arya? Saphira was concentrated on the sword fight between two Urgles. They were feral, and it was so entertaining that she took a few seconds to respond, in the treehouse. Why? No reason. I just found odd that they are missing the sword fight. It's their favorite. Ismira and Katrina rose to their feet when one of the competitors was subdued by the other. The crowd came to life around them, there with Avelina and Runela. Eragon remembered that she had mentioned earlier the training session with Avelina before the games. He just didn't expect it to take so long. It was strange because the next fight was going to be Rhaenyra's, and they were going to miss it. Rhaenyra entered the arena first, announced by the bard. His victories 10 years before were highly praised, such as his position as a dragon rider. Next, the bard sang the many accomplishments reached by the champion, Juicen, as he walked to his position opposite Rhaenyra. He was armored with a fine helm and breastplate. Not a single inch of skin or hair was seen under it all. His shield was a lean silver leaf, heavy decorated. Even from the distance, Eragon could see that he had gems encrusted on his chest and forehead forming a beautiful pattern. Is he some kind of prince? He looks wealthy, Ismira asked while squinting her eyes under the bright sunlight. If he were a prince, I believe the bard would have introduced him that way. Don't you remember him from the past editions in Illyra? I had the idea that you were a customary spectator. Ismira looked at him and shook her head, her red curls dangling around her face. I guess he was wearing a different armor then. Different how? She shrugged. Simpler. I don't remember seeing an elf displaying this kind of fortune in the games. The humans do it, though. It's a competition by itself to see who's carrying the richest equipment. Eragon hated that. If one day that kind of behavior took over the games in Anger, he would have to intervene. But he wondered about Juicen. He didn't remember hearing about him being noble or wealthy. It was also odd that he would enrich with the prizes for winning the games. They were a fair amount, but not enough to make a fortune. At least not like that. Rhaenyra started the fight just how they had practiced. He circled, maintaining a defensive stance. Juicen attacked, and Rhaenyra defended. It was a powerful blow to the Rhaenyra's shield, then another one. And another one. Juicen attacked many times, as Eragon had foreseen, but what he didn't anticipate was the fact that the champion seemed not to tire. Rhaenyra, on the other hand, was getting slightly slower by the minute. Eragon's heart raced to notice that Rhaenyra was the one who was getting frustrated. Just hold on for a little longer. Just a little longer, he said to himself. Eragon wanted Rhaenyra to wait until his opponent made a mistake, even if it was a tiny one, because until that point in the fight, Juicen had been impeccable. Rainier had other plans. Letting the rage for being massacred take over, he counterattacked a perfect hit that Deucen had landed on Rainier's shield. The champion was fast enough to dodge the diagonal cut and strike the other's legs. Rainier fell flat on his back. When he hit the floor, Deucen's blade was already pressed against his throat. Arg. I told him he should wait. Eragon rose to his feet. The fight was over, and the public was quiet. They rooted for Rainier for being a rider and from anger, but were disappointed that he lost. Little by little, the public started to clap without any joy. The victor removed his helm, and his shiny black hair fell on his back. He waved to the crowd, spinning to face all sides of the arena. His face was oddly angular, and he was a beautiful creature even for an elf. Eragon felt a mind pressing against his defenses, a mind he thought was familiar, but he couldn't quite discern. He fortified his walls, but the stranger was insistent. Arming his mental traps, he allowed a superficial contact just so he could recognize the intruder. A voice echoed loud in his head. "It's him, Shadeslayer." "The elf, it's him, Helena." "Who are you talking about?" He looked around in the crowd to find her, but didn't see her anywhere near him. "The elf I told you about in the tavern that day I arrived here a while ago." "It's him." The winner. Eragon finally understood what she was saying. The elf who had told Oswald about the death threats against Arya was there, competing in the games, and he was Deucen. He broke the connection with Helena and stood up to go meet the elf in the competitors' area and ask him about those threats. He had to know all about it. "I'll ask Blurdgarm to accompany you. Eragon. There's no need, Saphira." He excused himself to Katrina and Ismira and ran down the bleachers. "He may be dangerous." "I will do it. And don't talk back at me." Fine. Eragon ran until he reached the field. He had to dodge all the people that crowded the way, but he finally was free to cross the arena and get to the opposite side where he would face Deucen and solve the mystery once and for all. When he took the first step to enter the field, a hand grabbed his arm and made him turn. "Don't do it, Shadeslayer." "Let me take care of this," Helena said, fighting for air as she had run to catch him. "How do you intend to do it?" Eragon lowered his voice so only Helena would hear, like last time. "I will invite him to the tavern, and then to my room, to make him talk. All you have to do is to give me the right questions." Eragon frowned and shook his head. "I can't let you do that." The woman rolled her eyes and signaled for him to follow her. When they were leaving the arena, Blurdgarm joined them, and Helena asked him to come along. She stopped by a tree that served as shelter along the pathway to the arena. With a low voice, she protected the three of them from prying ears and started to talk. "Listen," she looked at Eragon. "You need to stop being such a defender of other people's honor. Do you want to find out about that elf or not?" Eragon felt a warmth coming to his cheeks for being reprimanded that way. "I do. But I can't ask you to do it for me, not because of your honor. It's my problem to solve." Helena motioned her hand to dismiss his concern. "Stop being so proud as well. Take it as a thank you gift for sheltering me when no one would. And I mean it with honesty." Eragon saw that her teasing stance was very well hidden under her truthful expression. She was being sincere. He looked at Blurdgarm for support. The elf nodded at him, and it gave him the encouragement he needed. "Fine. I accept your help." "Thank you, Helena." The red-haired woman smirked and blinked an eye to him. "This will be fun." "So you want me to take his place as the head rider when he fails?" Avelina was appalled at Arya's plan. She had blushed cheeks and her brows formed a severe V while she leaned forward in her chair at the kitchen table. "Not when. If Rainier fails, I intend to present you as an alternative." The young woman shook her head, making the loose strands of her sandy hair dance around her frame. "No. I can't accept it. How can I be the image of his failure? Every time he looks at me, he will see that he wasn't apt." "No, I won't do it." Arya took a deep breath. She thought the convincing would be easier. After training in the front yard, they had retreated inside for a cup of tea, so Arya could explain her plans of preparing Avelina to lead. Among the four of them, the knowledge that Rhaenyra was being crafted by Eragon's hands to the position as head rider was no secret at all. But Arya wished to maintain her parallel endeavor as hidden as possible to the men, so it would serve as a security measure only. She had committed to Eragon. She wished more than anything to live that commitment to the fullest, and if he wasn't free to come to her, they wouldn't have a satisfactory future together. Arya needed Avelina. Avelina, please. You must understand. No. She kicked the chair back as she stood up. I won't do it, Arya. Don't ask me to lead ever again. How could think I would accept such vile proposal? Avelina strode out of the house looking betrayed. Arya didn't follow, but heard when Rhaenyra took off flapping her wings away from the treehouse. Arya was lost. She didn't expect things to go that way. Arguing with Avelina was the worst outcome possible, because not only she had lost her security measure, but also strained her relationship with a close friend. What a mess. She got up feeling miserable and walked outside. How could a day that started so well turn into a big disaster? Fernan was waiting for her at the same spot she had left him earlier. He had his amber eyes following her with sympathy. My darling, I'm so sorry. Arya sat by his side and leaned against his neck, searching for comfort. I'm sorry as well. I made a big mess. I think you need to calm yourself and stop trying to control everything. I had the impression earlier that you agreed with my attempt to prepare Avelina for leading. I agreed. It was a great alternative, since Rhaenyra seems to be a reluctant learner. He's brilliant but slow. Your attempt didn't go well, so the best you have to do now is to trust that Eragon's plan will work and you two will be reunited in definitive in the future, whenever that is. Arya buried her face in the softer spot under his throat and wished it all to go away. All right. Good. But don't forget to rid Eragon of his promise, so you know what you are committing to. Arg, it's important, Arya, you know it. She clenched her jaw in frustration. I know. I'll do it. Good. Fernan repeated and snuggled around Arya's petite body. I don't want to attend the games today, she stated inside his comfort, so we won't go. Let's stay here and rest. Is that all right with you? He suggested in a caring tone. Arya nodded and closed her eyes to enjoy Fernan's protection. At the end of the day, right before sunset, Saphira landed on the grass by the river and Eragon arrived home with a pouring excitement. Arya could not feel the same, not even half of his good energy. She was lying on the couch on her side as she watched the leaves move outside through the window. It had distracted her with the changing colors as the sun moved in the sky and cast a different shade on them now and then. It was simple and beautiful. Why didn't you two attend the games today? You missed a lot, he said as he entered the house. Eragon stepped down to the living room and started talking about recognizing the competitor who fought Rhaenyra and won, and how he was working on pressing the elf about the death threats against Arya along with Blurdgarm and Helena, and... What's wrong? He paused, standing in front of the couch and looking down at her. Arya, are you all right? Eragon's voice was concerned. She didn't want to tell him why she had argued with Avelina. She didn't want to tell him she feared they would never have a life together. However, she needed to share her sadness with him. She trusted he would make her feel better. I had an argument with Avelina. His eyes widened and he knelt by her head so he could look at her, eye to eye. I'm so sorry, my queen. He used the softest voice, and her heart melted a little. When he caressed her face, she could not stop herself from closing her eyes and enjoying his touch. Do you want to talk about it? She shook her head and let herself being lifted by his arms so he would take a seat on the couch and cradle. His scent worked its magic to calm her down and surround her with security. She looked up from his lap to see his gentle eyes inspecting her emotions. Arya tried to lighten up the mood and smiled faintly at him. Did you say something about Helena? Eragon raised his eyebrows, then laughed quietly. Did I? He ran his fingers around her face and traced the line of her lips. I forgot. Their eyes met. She saw her shelter there, and there she stayed. At least until he made her close her eyes when he leaned in to kiss her on the lips he had so delicately traced. The kiss was careful, consoling. Soon his warmth surrounded her, and she found herself oblivious to what had happened before. He kissed her until a scratching noise came from the door. They separated, and she saw that he had an expression of disbelief on his face. I can't believe he did that, he said. Arya frowned. Who? Did what? Eragon started to laugh and shook his head. Rhaenyra. He sent my old friends to find me. I hope you don't mind sharing the bed with two more. What did he mean by that? It was a crazy conversation. He moved her gently to the side so he could get up and walk to the door. When he opened it, two senior cats entered the house. They were the same brown cats she had met 10 years before. Arya smiled and nodded. I'm sure we can make it work. She was right. He made her feel better indeed. His care and affection didn't solve any of her problems, but it gave her a reason to keep fighting.